Been here for about 38 years.
Is Dr. Tran here?
I do not.
Is Dr. Tran here?
He's in the back, he's hiding.
Belo has 20 television stations in 15 cities.
The K-5 investigators have documented how cash is changing hands in a taxpayer ripoff of gigantic proportion.
My colleagues and I try to tackle tough issues that benefit our communities.
I don't have any comments.
Do you anticipate that
Any
being?
comment?
Would you please not run away from me?
Belo's TV stations and the Dallas Morning News used to be part of the same company. About 6 years ago, Belo's newspapers and the TV stations split into separate companies, but the standards remain the same. Standards nurtured by Robert Decherd.
What I've known of Belo is they care about journalism. And that's, from the first day I started here, I know that came from the very top.
And that's what we definitely are here to do at King TV, is to get to the truth and to expose things that need to be exposed. It's about the First Amendment. It's about our right to report the truth.
I only see Robert Decherd about once every 4 years. He's more of a presence than a real person around here. That said, he really has helped shape journalism in Texas. First, he's guided the Dallas Morning News. Second, he's had a great effect on journalism education. And third, he's protected the First Amendment through the Freedom of Information Foundation. That helps journalists like me and my colleagues get access to public information.
He's been passionate about freedom of information, and he is someone who not only talks the talk, which a lot of people do, but he's someone that walks the walk.
He was the person whose investment started the Freedom of Information Foundation in Texas.
When I was in school in Austin, the communications center down there was in dire need of updating. A big chunk of the money to build the new journalism edition came from the Belo Foundation.
I walk in here and it feels like this is the College of Communication. This is kind of where I'm supposed to belong. My home is Belo.
The SMU Division of Journalism was really catapulted into the 21st century by the Belo Foundation. The whole idea was to look to the 21st century and to look at what it takes to produce journalists of the 21st century, regardless of media platform.
So people are really fascinated by the media.
This is the morning editorial meeting at the Dallas Morning News.
We've got a web operation now, we've got iPad apps, we've got phone apps, we've got WAPs, we have digital initials I don't even understand.
I don't think many people would know what's going on if we weren't able to tell stories.
The great thing about Robert is he's always supported every single possible way great news gathering.
You do it because it needs to be done. The Founding Fathers saw it that way. They didn't particularly like the press, but they saw the utility of having these sort of ordinary people asking questions.
Selling troubled houses can be a contact sport.
Well, come on, first stop. No, let's get a call. Get a call, get a call.
It's not
Bad, like, touch me. Put the camera, get the camera.
So for the hundreds of ornery journalists like me who work for Belo, thank you, Robert Decherd.
Ladies and gentlemen, I say one more time how humble and honored I am to introduce the winner of the First Amendment Leadership Award, Mr. Robert Decherd.
Thank you, Michael. That was a truly beautiful introduction. I appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for supporting RTDNF. It's such an important part of our journalistic community in this country, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight with all of you. Many of my Belo friends and colleagues are here tonight. Some of them ornery. I won't tell you which is which. I'll discover that on your own. But I want to tell them all how much their presence means to me, and my children, William and Audrey, are also here. I thank them for making the trek from Texas while Maureen holds down the Holden front. And all of us are indebted to Tony Scheib, the CEO of Belo Corp, and Jim Maroney, the publisher of the Dallas Morning News, who are both here for their steadfast leadership of two truly great journalistic organizations. And I especially want to recognize Susan Hay, who is here to my left, to right, whose late husband and former RTDNA award winner was and is the standard bearer for our television news operations. Now, you're wondering about this video, I'm sure. Well, I wanted someone like Byron to report the video you just saw because in our company, the role of reporting alongside editing and videography is valued above all. Byron's exceptional journalistic ability and storytelling ability exemplifies the best of the organization that Michael described. One whose tenets are applied equally at our 20 television stations and at the newspapers owned by A.H. Belo Corporation. Early in my career, I figured out that in a journalistic organization, the ultimate definition of success is determined by how resources are created and allocated at the top. And I'm lucky to have been able to do something with that authority over the past quarter century. And because Belo places equal priority on journalism as business success, we have, through our television news and newspaper operations, had a deep impact on communities across America. And this is a source of great pride for all of us here tonight and our colleagues throughout the company. At the same time, we all know through personal and professional experience that abrupt change goes with the territory. And how we adapt and how we make trade-offs will have everything to do with journalism's position in the media hierarchy of the future. In journalism, reputation is everything. It's the result of how we gather and report news and how decisions about emphasis and tone are made by editors every day. This daily news cycle creates lasting relationships with viewers, readers, and audiences. And because all news is ultimately local, the size of our newsrooms is bedrock. Of course, our reputation is inextricably tied to how we are perceived as a medium. And we should all remember that perception in turn has great influence on whether our work will be supported by advertisers and subscribers. I am an inherently optimistic person, and I am very optimistic about the future of journalism, especially because we own local news. However, as influence shifts to leaders whose intellectual roots are in science and technology, the most basic decisions about journalism have also shifted. There's nothing wrong with this, but such a realignment, as you all know, has large implications. The implicit power of owning the printing press gave way to owning the electronic means of distribution, and now to the internet. And while the internet may be liberating and democratic for individuals, which is its genius, the simple and profound reality is that when it comes to news and information, a very small number of very large companies define the playing field. So in that universe, as we think about how resource allocations are made, it's important in our hope and our desire that those allocations move up in priority, as they have in our organizations over these many years, wherein they're primary rather than subsidiary. This is not a subtle difference, and we all need to work very hard in years to come to ensure that the values and operating principles that have powered companies like Belo will continue to continue to distinguish journalism in America, regardless of technology, regardless of distribution platform. The First Amendment, which we celebrate tonight, and Freedom of Information statutes at the federal and state levels are the foundation and means of superior journalism. It's up to us, and so many others who have sustained the Fourth Estate, to ensure that journalism holds its place in our great democracy. Thank you very much for the honor you bestow upon me and our company's